I think as an old retired player now, it's one of those competitions that you come and watch and look to see the next generation of guys that are going to come through. Having watched over the last couple of seasons, seen Matt Kovacic, Johnny May, Trinder, Burns, those three from Gloucester. Obviously your man Jack Now last year picking up the Breakthrough Player Award. All these young guys coming through, starting to push for international honours as well. Because you're seeing Kovacic, you're seeing Yard, who's played in the LV Cup. All these young guys that have been given an opportunity through the LV to play, which maybe they wouldn't have had, because you've got the senior guys, the internationals or whoever it is, still playing in their place. I think for coaches in particular, it's a great opportunity to see how deep the strength in depth is in their squads.
As we saw in the summer with the Junior World Cup, Welsh and English under-20 sides both in the final, shows just how powerful that group of players are coming through, and we've seen, as you say, those players emerging last season and hopefully again this year.
Yeah, those junior competitions are fantastic. Having Wales and England in the final last year was a great advert for Northern Hemisphere rugby, wasn't it? And being an Englishman, seeing England go up on the right side of the result was obviously brilliant. But I think it's right at the minute. If you look where Wales are, and in terms of their senior national side, Grand Slams, the majority of the Lions boys, still a relatively young contingent of players coming through there. You look at Leicester, you've got Owen Williams, a young Welshman coming through who's raved about in the Leicester circles. So I'm sure that will be confident news for the Welsh selectors and any injury concerns they may have in terms of their fly-off selection. But it's just a good competition. When you talk about your international sides or any of your club sides that you want to perform, those ones that are successful generally have strength in depth. And how do you create that strength in depth? You've got to give guys game time. And for me, this competition and those junior tournaments, is where it really starts.
There's already a lot of excitement about Sandy Park being a World Cup venue, but it's also going to host the final of the LV Cup this year. What have you made of the venue here today, and what can happen with match days here in Devon?
I think it's fantastic for rugby down south. Southwest, I suppose it is, isn't it? Really, being a Midlander, sometimes you get confused with that. But it's a great place. Rugby is about the people. It's about getting the right fan base. It's about culture. And Exeter as a club, from what I've seen from the outside, has that in abundance. The right culture is created, the right value set. The guys play for each other, and you can see what's achieved on the playing field when you get that right. So as a venue to house a World Cup game, I think it's probably spot on. There's obviously some good development going to be happening here in the years leading up to that World Cup. So certainly for me, it makes it nice and easy to get to a World Cup game being in Bath.
In terms of the LV, though, we've seen real re-emergence of the Welsh regions this year, especially in Europe. They've come through. The Scarlets picking up results, say at Harlequins and that. Are you expecting a big challenge from them this year?
I hope so, because I remember back to the days when we had some real humdingers of battles against the Ospreys in the two finals, in back-to-back finals. So I'd like to see these sides, and I am enjoying seeing them come back into form. Scarlets, I'd have to admit, I'd pretty much written off at the start of the year. So seeing them come into the season, it's all very easy as an old pro to predict what's going to happen before a ball's being kicked in anger. So when you see what really happens when these individuals get out onto the playing field and ply their trade, it's quite exciting. So for the Welsh regions, I'd love to see them competing for silverware at the end of this. The Ospreys, Cardiff, Scarlets, Dragons, they're all capable. For me, the Ospreys are probably one of the more impressive sides at the moment.
On a different tangent, this last week has seen the 10-year anniversary of the World Cup win, which you were a member of. How good were the celebrations, and how good was it not to see all the boys again?
These celebrations were very good. It was quite surreal, actually, because for some of the lads, for me, it was 10 years since we'd seen each other, and having everyone in one room for the first time since that World Cup win was just great. Great memory lane stuff. Sitting in the dinner on Friday night, seeing all the footage that was behind the scenes that we probably hadn't seen. I certainly hadn't seen. Of us training, lying on the ground, having done a conditioning session, thinking that my lungs were going to come out my mouth. It was great looking back and remembering those times. With the same group of players. And looking around, you don't feel like you've aged at all, but we clearly have, sadly, having watched some of the guys play on Thursday night.
You're in that select band of players that have won a World Cup, though, but looking forward to, say, 2 years from now, how good a shape are England in at the moment?
Do you know what? I think they're in a good position. I was concerned for the side coming into this tournament because if they didn't beat Australia in that first game, then it was going to be a very tough ask for them to get another 2 wins. But for Stuart, he's building something nice. You know, I think they've got rid of that. You know, without looking upon what we achieved as anything other than brilliant, you know, but there's been a hangover from '03 that England has struggled to replace, and I think Stuart's doing that now. You know, seeing the changing rooms, the facilities that they've just reinvented at Twickenham. You know, there's a whole new changing room, medical and everything facility. It's a new look England. It's something that they're buying into, and they feel like it's their team, which I think is really important. You know, you as an individual want to create something that's important to you, and that team are doing it, and getting a win. You know, whether you play well or not, it's just all about getting the win. And for me, teams that are successful know how to win difficult games. You know, as a Leicester side during the 2000s, we were able to win games that we really shouldn't have done, and it's those ones that really count when you look back and think, how did we win that, and why were we successful? It's getting those tough wins, and the boys did that the weekend.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lewis. Terrific.